My name is Stephen Ward. I'm the Managing Director of Clark's Room. I've been invited to speak at the Big Law Summit, 15th, 17th September, which is now online. Thank you very much for inviting me to speak. I'm looking forward to hearing the other speakers who are leading the future of the law. And as far as I'm concerned, now is really the time to be focusing on how you change your business. So my talk is entitled Getting Your Business to Run Like Clockwork. And the reason I've chosen that topic and put it forward for today is because over the last 3 years we at Clark's Room have been focusing on how we can get Clark's Room more efficient, how we can get our systems and processes running like clockwork. So what I'm talking about today is my personal journey. I'm not trying to teach anybody how to run their business. I'm not sort of saying everything we've done has been correct, but I'm just sharing my experiences with you in this 30-minute session. So this is my personal journey. What I really ask people to do at the very beginning is to stop and have a look at your business. Really take a long, hard look at what you do, perform quite a bit of analysis, engage your team in doing that analysis, and really try to understand throughout everything you're doing the real value of your team. And you know, this may sound a little bit silly, but get to know them a little bit better, because you're going to get the best out of people if you know how they tick. So what I'm looking at the moment, and more so during COVID, is how to be more flexible with your team, how to get the best out of them. And what that means is strangely me having to do a lot more work on myself and the way that I manage my team, and for me to be far more flexible. So a lot of what I'm talking about today is what we have to do as business owners or managers. We're looking at systems, processes, we're looking at automation, and really, for the sake of stating the obvious, duplication avoidance. Because there's a lot of duplication that goes on in most businesses. I do use the word business because whether you're a law firm or a chambers or anything else, essentially everybody is a business. I know I get shot down in flames for saying that about law quite often, but that's my view. We're all running our businesses. So one of the crucial things that I'm going to be talking about in this video is knowing your numbers. Know exactly what your numbers are in your business, what your KPIs are. Make sure you understand where they are, where your data is. So you have to do quite a bit of auditing to understand what numbers are important to your business and where you can find them. And then really one of the key messages I'm going to be putting into the section, probably the last section on this video, is test and measure everything. I cannot stress the importance of testing and measuring everything. What I've learned over the last 3 or 4 years is data, dashboards, absolutely key. If you don't know how to test and measure something, you really can't see whether what you're doing is getting better. So that is one of the most crucial things that you need to do. So in this talk, I'm really going to be talking about a standard business, which in my view is marketing. Phase 1, phase 2, conversion, convert those clients that have come to you through marketing into customers, conversion. Stage 3, the easy bit maybe for all of us, is service delivery, where I think nearly all of us will focus on, but we need to focus on the other bits as well. And then stage 4 is the finances, because understand the numbers, understand what your marketing cost, understand what the conversion cost, understand what it costs you to deliver the service or product, and then have your finance. And at the end of the day, business is as simple as you have a cost of delivering your service, you have a cost of acquiring that client, and hopefully at the end of the day there's a profit. What I'm wanting to talk about in this section of my talk is my own personal journey. I started Clark's Room 20 years ago, spent about 15 years building the business up, and about 5 years ago I began to realise that I really wasn't enjoying the work that I was doing as much as I did when I first started the business. So I took a long, hard look at the business and realised where I was, and I was at a stage where we'd grown quite considerably since we started. We were looking at 75 barristers on the books, 20 staff. I was not in a very good place. I was working all hours of the day. had email overload, working 7 days a week, working whilst on holiday. Really not a great place to be. So I started talking with a business coach, a chap called John McCarthy, and really just started to look at the business, which I think not many people have an opportunity to do. And it's a bizarre thing, because when you're really busy and overloaded, it's very difficult to take a step back and look at your business. So what I did with the help of John McCarthy was really to start to dig down into the business and find out what was causing me the stress, what was causing my overload, what was causing me to work 7 days a week. And really that takes me on to the next real sort of heading of business, really, and that is understanding your business. Because, as I say, it's quite hard to do, but what you need to do if you're going to really get a grip of your business and make it run like clockwork, and even make it run without you, which is quite a scary thought for most people, you need to take a really, really good look under the bonnet and see what's going on in your business. So one of the first things that we did was to map out, and I went and bought literally a roll of wallpaper and laid it out on the conference room table, and just really started to map out everything that goes on in our business. And I'm not going to say it was an easy thing to do. There's nothing in my talk that is suggesting that this is easy, and it's not really something that someone else can do for you. It's something that you really need to sit down and look at yourself. So I took a long, hard look at the business and tried to understand what was going on, and mapped out our processes, our sales processes, our conversion processes, and what we did in terms of service delivery, and then what we did in terms of reporting and the numbers. And again, you have to be a little bit honest with yourself about things that you're good at, things that you're not good at. And I found quite a few things that I am personally not very good at, and that really becomes a little bit difficult in terms of accepting yourself and your own strengths and weaknesses. But there was a number of things that I think, pretty good at. So we had positives and negatives. So the next thing really in the topic is to look at those systems and processes, to map them out. What I started to do with all of my team was to ask them to write down everything that they do in a day, every single member of staff to write down. And then we started looking at all of the things that we do a lot of, things like booking barristers for hearings. We do about 2,000 a month, pre-COVID of course. And what we were hoping to do is find out which of the processes we do a lot of the time, what takes us a lot of our time. We delved into the processes in great detail. So we looked at what is it we actually have to do to book a barrister. So, and I'm talking about mapping out the details really carefully. So saying to yourself, okay, I pick up the phone, I spend 5 minutes listening to somebody, then I write down what we do, then I open up a particular package on the keyboard, and then I look at the computer screen and I type in this information. So writing down the systems and process involves writing down every single keystroke, every single click, and making an absolute note of what that process involves. And sometimes even just doing that and nothing more, you start to realize that you're doing a lot of clicks, or you're doing a lot of things that you've always done unnecessarily. So what we're looking for in our systems and processes is duplication. We're looking at duplication of clicks, duplication of effort, duplication of conversation, duplication of data from one system to another, and we're looking at how we can avoid much of that duplication of work. Funnily enough, once you start to write it out and start to list out your processes, and you start to map out everything on paper, you sometimes realize with a little bit of a diagram where you're going with something, and you realize that it's completely ridiculous what you're doing. and why you're having to involve other people, or where you may have to go and get a decision from someone. Everything you look at on paper as a system or a process suddenly becomes more straightforward. That's certainly what I've found in my experience. The next bit is really automation. How can we automate? A lot of people told me at the very outset that it's impossible to automate the booking of a barrister. It's impossible to automate doing a fee quote. So many different things that are so-called impossible. What I would say is it certainly seems like that at the time. But once you get a documented system, a documented process, you start to realise that first of all the way you're doing it is often silly. We are duplicating a lot of things we do. We don't need to be doing some of the things. Is every single thing that we do absolutely necessary? Was it what the client asked for? Was it what the client wanted? What does good look like? If we're doing that, why don't we do that? A lot of the time we don't do what I would say is good or best practice because we simply don't have time. So it goes hand in hand that if you map the process, you find a really good process and you start to remove time from your problem, then you have more time to do what the client actually asked for, what the client wanted, to be more flexible, and so on. So by looking at the automation and the duplication of avoidance scenario, as I call it, it immediately leads on to bots. Now, this is a really tricky subject because people think chatbots, people have experience of chatbots. When I talk about bots and automation, I'm actually suggesting that it's a much, much larger topic. It may be that in your software, if you use Xero, say for accounting, there's a lot of things that you can do in Xero that are automated chasing. I'm not talking about chatbots and automation being just literally having a chatbot that answers questions. What I'm looking at is take it from the point of view of you have a problem, you have a job, you have a task that needs doing, and work out what it is that automation can help you with. And quite often the answer might be a little bit of software development. It might be that you have to implement a chatbot to take initial inquiries from people, direct them in the right place, or it could be that the automation is already in existence in your software but you didn't know it existed anyway. The biggest problem that I found when I was looking at our systems and processes that we were using a number of different systems and a number of different bits of software, and it was really impossible to connect them together. So you have one system for collection of data, one system for inputting it, one system then for finance, a different system for the CRM, maybe go out to MailChimp for marketing. And it became obvious to me about 2-3 years ago that what we needed to do was implement an overarching data structure that allowed us to have all the data in one place, that we weren't jumping around between systems. So avoiding duplication, looking at chatbots and looking at automation and software development, it all in the main really required us to move all of our data into one place, which we came to the realization 2.5 years ago that we had no real choice but to build our own case management system, bring all our data into one place. We don't want to reinvent the wheel. We're happy to work with Microsoft Office, with Xero, Outlook, all the varying systems that allow you to manage your business, but they've all got APIs, and APIs allow you to keep the data in one place but interact with other systems. So that's what I mean by chatbots automation, and we've now reached a stage, very exciting stage in the business, where BillyBot, our chatbot, is now saving us hundreds of hours of staff time. We've reduced all our staff's working hours. We haven't reduced their pay, but we've given everybody back half an hour per day. So we've contractually moved their weekly hourly rates down to 40 hours a week from 42.5. So every member of staff has benefited from our automation and chatbot policy. which has been something that we've wanted to give back to the staff since we started, because obviously staff are absolutely crucial to the implementation of our strategy. So having done that and having got our bots in place and reviewed our bot strategy, we've reached the conclusion that we don't really want one chatbot, BillyBot, anymore. What we really need is unlimited numbers of chatbots. And just to explain what I mean by that, a chatbot automates a process, and it seems to us that there's no point in having one incredibly sophisticated chatbot that does everything. You would never do that in your business. You would never have one amazing person who does everything. You employ the numbers of people that you need to carry out the various tasks in the various departments, and they specialize in those areas. So we've decided our chatbot strategy is really going to be just that. We're going to create specialized individual chatbots, gender neutral, with names like Joe, and various sort of names where it could be male or female, it doesn't really matter. And we're going to give each chatbot a backstory, so we can tell you about their history, because if you're building a chatbot, you have to also build personality. And at Clarksroom, we're all about culture and having a bit of fun and a bit of work-life balance. So we want our chatbots to have the same. It may sound a little bit strange, but when you come to write the background and the personality for a chatbot, it really does help with how you write the chat, and how you write the decision-making tree, and how you write the way that they deal with problems that they face. So it's always good to have a story behind the chatbot. And if you look at BillyBot at billybot.co.uk, you'll see Billy's backstory. He's a 16-year-old trainee. He makes mistakes. He's learning all the time. We don't want people to think he's perfect. We want people to understand that he's in training. And if he gets it wrong, there's always a supervisor on hand to help. So very interesting times ahead with our chatbots. We're going to promote Billy to be the senior chatbot, and then Billy is going to help us recreate seamlessly unlimited numbers of chatbots, so that every member of staff at Clarksroom will have an assistant who will be their chatbot assistant. And we've got some really interesting and fun stuff to come on that. So the next real point about this talk in the business cycle is, once you've implemented, you've looked at your policies, you've looked at your procedures, your processes, and you've looked at how you could use automation or chatbots, or even software development or existing software to help you get to where you want to be. The next topic is really know your numbers. It's really crucial, in my opinion, to understand your business numbers, understand what's important to you. For instance, one of the important things for me is to understand how many full-time members of Clarksroom we have at any one time. May seem very basic, may seem very straightforward, but when you're interviewing people all the time, and we do get the odd person who departs for whatever reason, it's really useful to know at the end of a month exactly how many full-time members. As I say, I appreciate that sounds really stupid and really straightforward, but I'm just giving it as an example of something really, really straightforward. If our strategy is to get to X number of numbers within 12 months, then the difference between where we are now and 12 months time divided by 12 gives us our strategy for the numbers going forward. And unless I measure every single month and look at whether we're performing or not performing, I don't know my numbers. The same applies for income, the same applies for expenses, the same applies for profit margin, the same applies for conversion rates, PPC digital marketing. You've got to know all of these numbers. And the only way, in my opinion, to know all of these numbers is because you've got all your data in one place, or at least that's where you're trying to get to, and you've got all that data accessible, you can then build a dashboard. And I read recently in a book that one of the best ways of explaining business dashboards is simply to look at the dashboard of your car. If you think about it, okay, dashboards in cars are becoming increasingly complicated, but you can have a quick look at your dashboard. You can tell whether you're low on fuel, marketing. You can tell whether you've got a flat tire, there's something going disastrously wrong in one of your areas. And if you get an engine transmission fault in service delivery, you immediately know you've got to stop the car and pull over. And really, assuming you get in your car and there's no red lights on your dashboard and you're just happily driving along. We're all quite happy to drive 2, 3, 4, 500 miles on autopilot, on cruise control, because everything's happening as we would expect. And so really, until you get the service light come up, until you, now's the time to pop into a garage and get everything checked, that's really where you want your business to be. So getting your business to run like clockwork, using all those processes, automation, a little bit of bespoke software, understanding your numbers, understanding what's really important to you, and then getting a dashboard in place. One of the reasons I wanted to film this on the beach is because I'm using my phone to film this. I'm using my iPhone. On my iPhone, I've got the business dashboard. I immediately get an alert on my dashboard if any of the numbers aren't quite where I expect them to be. I've had no alerts this month, even though it's August. So the business is running exactly as we would expect, and that's down to the fantastic team of staff that I have back at HQ in Taunton. But really, if anybody wants to come to me and point out that there's a problem with the business, with the numbers, I can get an overview of everything within seconds, and I can immediately dig down and look at where the problem is. It might be that we've decided to spend more on digital marketing, which in fact we're doing this month as August, because due to COVID, the marketing cost, the PPC cost at Google is plummeted by about 50%. A lot of people have turned off their marketing because it's an unnecessary spend. We've done the opposite. We've ramped up our marketing to double, and we're going to see a record month in August, which is really quite unusual for our business. Test and measure everything is really the next topic. Once you've got everything running and you've got your dashboard up and running, you can be in a very happy place really, because you can then start to test and measure every single thing. Test and measure is a phrase that I adopted about 3 years ago following initial coaching, and I've never looked back, and I consider test and measuring to be fundamental to every single thing we do in the business. So as by way of an example, I get an email from one of my managers saying we've been talking to the Google marketing people, the digital marketing people, and they're explaining to us that our SEO, our search engine optimization, isn't working quite as we wish. So we'd like to create 100 new pages on our site. We're going to put 100 new phone numbers in. We're going to put contact tracing in. And as soon as we get an inquiry from any one of these pages, we're going to look at it and see how well it performed. So we're quite happy to spend a bit of money on that. We spend a bit of money on the SEO with our team. We create the pages, we monitor them, we test and measure. We look at all the incoming inquiries over, say, the next month or 3 months that have come from those 100 pages. 30, 40, 50 probably don't produce anything. 20 produce some great results. We look at those great results and we can see that the wording on it, let's just say tax mediation, has really picked up, and we're doing really well out of that. The conversion rate is 80, 90%, and the money that we're earning from that is fantastic compared to the cost of marketing. As a personal guide, I would never spend £1 on marketing unless I can guarantee £2 back. So test and measure. Be prepared to fail. Don't worry about it. You'll get loads wrong. But what you do get right, put it into the dashboard, have a look. Are you spending £1? Are you definitely getting 2 back after all your costs? And if you are, you're looking to basically make that repeatable. It's not rocket science at all, but you can't do that unless you understand what marketing you're doing is working really well. So understand the numbers, understand your costs, understand what it actually takes to deliver the service, and then test and measure everything. And if you combine all that together into your dashboard, you've basically got a business that runs by itself, runs by clockwork, grows by itself without you being there, apart from monitoring the dashboard. You've got a repeatable business, you've got known outcomes from known marketing. And if you go right back to the original, what I said very much in the introduction of this talk, business is really, really straightforward, assuming that you're willing to accept that that your company or firm is a business. Business is really quite straightforward. You do a bit of marketing, you get a client, you've got to convert it, you've got to deliver the service, then you've got to look at your numbers at the end of the day, reporting, did I make enough profit? If I didn't, you've got to go back somewhere in that system and tweak it. The only difference to that is sometimes those 4 sections of your business are slightly in a different order. Take, for instance, public access marketing. We do the marketing, we do the conversion, then we do the delivery, then we do the reporting, then we start again, we go back in the cycle. So everything you do in business is a continuation of the same circle. It's all repeatable. If you understand how it's happening, you can repeat it. And if you can repeat it, you can tweak it, you can make it more profitable. And as I said at the outset, and I will just say again, I am not suggesting for 1 minute that we have a perfect business. I'm not suggesting that it's very easy for you to do this. It's difficult. You've got to get your team on board. You've got to do a lot of hard work. You maybe have to change systems. We've been working at it for 3 years now. We've doubled our turnover in 3 years. We've increased our profitability quite substantially, and I'm now able to monitor the dashboard from the beach. I'm down in the southwest of France at Saint-Géron-Plage. We came down at the end of June, planning to go back for October. We've got broadband, I've got my laptop, I've got an extra screen, I've got a telephone. There's nothing really that I can't do via Teams, Zoom, remotely. And that's what we've worked very hard to do. So I hope that by sharing with you my personal journey and some of the tips that I've got along the route, you'll find this interesting and get something out of it. So from Saint-Géron-Plage, goodbye, and I hope you enjoyed my talk. Enjoy the rest of the Big Law Summit.